The world has gone quiet. Shadows stretch across the walls. Let your thoughts grow soft. A story waits in the stillness. If it brings you peace, like, subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss a night. Now let the story find you. You step onto the old stone path just as the sun dips beneath the cedar-covered hills of Takamori village. The air holds a hush, the kind that presses gently against your chest. This isn't your hometown, just a name you traced from a yellowing postcard found among your late grandmother's belongings. Where lanterns never fade, it had said in looping ink. A strange phrase, poetic but unsettling. Your shoes crunch softly against gravel, the road damp with the scent of moss and fading summer. To your right, a series of red torii gates frame the narrowing path like silent sentinels. There are lanterns, too, evenly spaced on tall wooden posts, each glowing with a soft golden light. Though the sun has barely gone, the village is quiet, not abandoned, just slowed down as if time took longer to pass here. A shopkeeper sweeping the steps of an old sweet store nods to you but doesn't speak. A child rides by on a rusted bicycle without looking up, and there's something about the way everyone avoids the lantern path, as if it belongs to someone else. The inn you reserved is near the far edge of the village, nestled between two shrines. The woman who runs it, Ichika-san, greets you with a practiced bow and warm smile, though her eyes linger a beat too long on the string of bells you wear around your wrist. You tell her they were your grandmother's. She only nods. Your room faces the lantern path, she says softly. I can move you if you prefer. You shake your head. Something inside you wants to see it, needs to. That night, you open the sliding door to the small balcony. Beyond the garden hedge, the lanterns stretch on endlessly into the woods, their light unmoving, windless. You should feel comforted by their glow, but something keeps you standing there, watching, just watching. That's when you see her, a girl maybe in her teens, barefoot, wearing a white kimono with the sleeves tied back steps between the lanterns. Her long black hair is uncombed, messy, like she woke up from a storm. She carries no light, yet the lanterns near her flicker ever so slightly, like they recognize her. You blink. She's gone. You lie in bed for hours after, the paper walls thin against the sounds of cicadas and the rhythmic chime of the wind bell outside. You don't dream. The next morning, over rice and miso soup, Ichika-san pours you tea and asks if you slept well. Her tone is polite, but there's a flicker in her face, like she already knows you didn't. You ask her about the girl. For a moment, she doesn't answer. Then there is a story, she says, hands folded in her lap. Long ago, a shrine maiden named Amy lived at the end of that path. She tended the lanterns, kept them lit for travelers so they wouldn't lose their way in the woods. One night, during a heavy storm, a man from the city came, soaked and desperate. She gave him shelter. They say he was running from something. You wait. She fell. In love, Ichika continues. He said he would stay, but in the morning, he was gone. Amy disappeared soon after. Her voice drops, but the lanterns never went out. And some say if you walk far enough, you'll see her. You sip your tea. You don't tell her you already did. Later that day, you wander the village. Everyone's polite, but you're clearly an outsider. You notice they never walk the lantern path. Children cross the street to avoid it. The postman makes a wide loop around it. You ask a teenage boy leaning against a vending machine why not. He glances toward the woods. Because it leads nowhere, he says. And sometimes when you go too far, you forget why you went. The sky grows heavy with late summer rain. You spend the evening indoors, but your mind drifts. What if Amy is still out there, waiting? Or worse, what if she never stopped lighting the way for people who won't stay? That night, you dream of bells. They're not ringing, they're shaking, like they're afraid of being still. And when you open your eyes, the paper door to the balcony is open. Again, not wide. Just enough. As if someone was there, waiting. The rain starts just before dawn, gentle at first, like the sky itself is unsure whether it wants to cry. You wake to the smell of wet earth and something faintly sweet sakura, though it's months past their bloom. The paper door remains slightly ajar. You don't remember opening it. You slide it shut with care, listening to the soft click of the wooden latch, as if sealing a boundary you barely understand. Outside, the lanterns continue to glow, their light untouched by wind or rain. You stare at them too long. They seem brighter than before. Ichika-san doesn't mention the door at breakfast. She chats about the weather, recommends the tofu shop near the old well, and offers you an umbrella. You want to ask if she's hiding something, but she's too practiced. Her kindness is smooth and unreadable as a lacquered bowl. You spend the day wandering in the drizzle, the sound of your footsteps softened by the soaked moss underfoot. You follow the river for a while, visit the shrine with its 1,000 paper cranes fluttering under the eaves, each one a wish. You don't make one. You already feel like you're in someone else's by mid-afternoon. You find yourself back at the edge of the lantern path. No map brings you here. It's as if the village breathes you toward it. A woman in her 60s is kneeling beside the first lantern, cleaning its base with a white cloth. Her kimono is simple and her back is slightly bent with age, but her hands are steady. She doesn't look up. Do you know the girl? You ask gently. Still kneeling, she smiles. Everyone knows her. Amy? The woman nods slowly, her fingers pausing mid-wipe. She loved someone who made a promise in the rain. But promises like that are like puddles, gone by morning. You glance down the path. Is she still here? The woman stands with a slow grace. She never left. She just forgot how to stop waiting. You want to ask more, but she begins walking in the opposite direction, her cloth folded neatly in her hands. As she vanishes behind the curve of the village, you hear her say without turning back, "Don't walk too far after sundown." The lights can trick the heart. That night you light the incense Ichika-san placed on your room's low table. Its scent is soft, something like sandalwood and plum blossom. You sit on the tatami and stare out at the path. One lantern flickers, and then she returns. Amy steps from between the trees like she never left. Her face is calm, too calm, as if carved from a memory you almost had. She walks slowly, as though time bends differently around her. Each step she takes, a lantern behind her dims slightly, but not enough to darken. Just enough for you to notice. You find yourself at the edge of the garden before you realize your body has moved. The stones are slick beneath your feet. She's only a few meters away now. Her eyes meet yours, not with sadness, but a peculiar kind of knowing. "Did he send you?" she asks. Her voice is light, almost childlike, but carries the weight of too many years. You shake your head. "You don't even know who he is." She looks past you, through you. They always say that, until they remember. You blink and she's gone again. A sound rises behind you. Bells. Your grandmother's bracelet is trembling against your wrist. The sound is not loud, but steady, like a warning or a welcome. When you return to your room, your reflection in the mirror looks softer, your hair slightly out of place, a tiny smear of dirt on your ankle, though you never left the garden. Sleep doesn't come easily. When it does, you dream of a winding path that never ends. Each lantern glows, and each glow feels like a heartbeat. You keep walking, and with every step, the memory of why you came begins to blur. A voice follows you in the dark. If you stay long enough, you'll forget what you were searching for. When you wake, the dirt is still on your ankle. The bells are still, but you're not sure how much of the night was a dream dot and how much of it followed you back. Morning comes with a pale gray sky, and the rain has stopped, though the air feels thick, like it's holding its breath. You wash the dirt from your ankle and don't mention it when Echika-san brings your breakfast. She doesn't ask either, but when she places the miso soup in front of you, her hand brushes yours and her gaze lingers not on your eyes, but on the bells around your wrist. "You should visit the lake today," she says quietly, as if the idea just occurred to her. "It's where people go when they want to remember something or forget." You nod, unsure whether she's warning you or inviting you deeper. The lake lies beyond the last stretch of the lantern path, just before the forest thickens. The walk is longer than expected. The further you go, the more the village thins behind you, until even the sound of its silence fades. The lanterns guide you, still softly glowing, though it's daylight now. They seem unnecessary, and yet comforting. You don't see anyone on the path today. When the trees finally part, the lake appears like a secret held too long. It's perfectly still, ringed with ancient willows that dip their fingers into the water's edge. A small dock juts out, half-worn and crooked. You sit at its end, shoes off, feet hovering just above the surface. The water reflects everything except. Your breath catches. You lean forward, squinting. The sky, the trees, the lanterns behind you, they're all there. But not your face, not even a shadow. Then something does appear, a figure standing where you just came from. Not Emi this time, a man. He wears a dark coat, too modern for the village, and holds something in his hand, a small paper umbrella, torn slightly at the edge. He doesn't move, but you feel watched, known. Your pulse quickens and you blink, trying to dispel the illusion. But when you look again, he's already walking away down a side trail that wasn't there before. You rise. Something compels you to follow. The trees close in faster this time. Branches dip lower, the air cooler. The path narrows, but your feet move without hesitation. Bells at your wrist remain still, but inside, something rings faintly like memory. Trying to surface you reach a small clearing with an abandoned shrine. The wood is splintered, the offerings long decayed. A single lantern here still glows, though dimmer than any before. You step closer and see a small plaque, half covered in moss. It reads, Emi and Ren. one lit the way. One never returned. You speak his name softly. Wren, the air shifts. Behind you, a breath not yours. You turn quickly, but it's only the wind, or perhaps the hush of someone not quite willing to be seen. That night, back at the inn, Ichika doesn't greet you. Her niece, a girl no older than 16, serves your dinner instead. She keeps glancing toward the hallway as if expecting someone or something to walk through. You eat in silence. Later, in your room, you place your grandmother's bells on the windowsill, just to watch, just in case. Sleep hovers uncertain. And then, footsteps. Soft ones, like bare feet on TAMI. You rise. The door to the hallway is open now. A folded umbrella sits just beyond the threshold. You don't remember leaving it there. You don't remember ever owning one. Still, your hand reaches for it, and when you touch it, something in the bells begins to stir no louder than a breath, but enough to remind you. Something is waking. Something that knows your name. The umbrella feels dry in your hand, impossibly so. Not a trace of moisture on the paper, not even where the edges were torn. You stare at it for a long moment, unsure whether it's a gift or a sign or a message from someone who never meant to return. You leave it by the door. Something tells you it's not meant to be carried. Sleep doesn't come easily. Your thoughts scatter as if your mind itself is wary of settling. When you do drift off, you dream not of Amy or Wren, but of your grandmother. She's younger in the dream, not old and fading like she was in her final years. She's lighting lanterns along a shore you don't recognize, one by one, humming a song with no words. You try to call her name, but she only lifts her hand and presses a finger to her lips, smiling. Then the lanterns behind her begin to float. You wake with her name on your tongue. Your phone buzzes. It's the first time it has, in days, a message from an unknown number. Just one word, still waiting. The bells on the windowsill jingle faintly, though the air is still. You step outside into the blue-gray haze of early morning. The village is slower than usual, its silence deeper. You past a sweet shop still closed. The boy with the bicycle is nowhere to be seen. You head for the shrine. The priestess is sweeping leaves from the stone steps. She looks up when she hears you approach, her expression unreadable. You carry her bells, she says. You nod. They were my grandmother's. She came here once, long ago. Her tone shifts, becoming more personal. She didn't stay, but part of her never left. You blink. What do you mean? She saw Amy too, just once, and when she returned home, she could no longer remember the road that brought her here. The priestess stops sweeping. This path doesn't ask permission to stay with you. It only waits for you to walk far, enough that you forget where you began. Her words settle into your chest like mist. Back at the inn, Ichika is in the garden. She's trimming the bonsai with delicate precision. When she notices you, she nods, not with warmth, but with something closer to acceptance. She's calling you, isn't she? She says without turning. You hesitate. Then, who? Not Amy. She meets your gaze now, the part of you that followed her. You open your mouth, but no sound comes. Be careful, she says. Some souls get caught between longing and memory, and in that place, names begin to slip. That evening, you decide to follow the lantern path fully, not just to the lake or the shrine, but beyond to where the trail loses its edges and memory begins to fade. You wait until the sky dims. The first star appears. The lanterns glow brighter. You walk. The air is different past the first bend, quieter. The scent of old incense and summer leaves surrounds you. With each step, you feel lighter and yet as if something unseen is brushing just behind your shoulder. Then you hear it, footsteps, not your own. They match your pace, slow, even, always just behind. You stop, they stop. You turn, but the path behind you is empty, save for the light of the lanterns that never fade. And then, ahead of you, Amy. She stands beneath a twisted pine, the wind catching her hair and strands across her face. She doesn't smile. She simply waits. You step closer, heart strangely calm. She speaks before you can. Why do you keep coming back? You search for an answer, but none rises. Only a question of your own. Did he promise to return? She closes her eyes as if tasting the memory. He did, with words as soft as rain. But he never knew what it meant to be remembered by the land. She steps forward now, her bare feet silent on the earth. You carry something, she says, something not yours. Your hand instinctively moves to the bells. She nods slowly. They remember paths that no longer exist. You want to ask what she means, but she turns. This way, she whispers Dot and walks into the woods, beyond where the lanterns end. You hesitate only for a moment. Then you follow, not because you understand, but because forgetting suddenly feels heavier than remembering. The air shifts the moment you cross the edge of the lanterns. It's not colder but deeper, like stepping into a room that has been waiting undisturbed for too long. The light from the last lantern glows behind you, like a farewell, its warmth no longer reaching your back. Amy walks ahead, silent, her feet barely touching the ground. The forest is not dark, not in the way you expect. There's a pale glow from somewhere above, though no moon is visible, and the trees seem to lean slightly toward her, as if they know her and have not forgotten. You don't speak. You don't want to break whatever fragile thread binds the two of you now. Soon the trees open into a clearing. At its center stands a small house, wooden, old, but not decayed. Lanterns hang from the eaves unlit. The wind stirs their chords, gently like a lullaby for ghosts. This is where I waited, Amy says, her voice the softest you've heard it yet. I used to light each one before nightfall, so travelers would not lose their way. You step closer to the house. Its porch creaks under your weight. The door is half open, revealing a room lined with scrolls and a single futon. Everything is neat, untouched by time. Dot, she watches you from the threshold. He left this behind, she says. His words, his name, his silence. You find a small lacquered box on the floor beside the futon. You open it carefully. Dot, inside, a folded letter, a ring, and a pressed sakura petal, faded almost white. You unfold the letter. The ink is smudged, the writing hurried, but you can still make out pieces. I cannot stay. They're looking for me. I will return when the rain stops. Wait for me under the lanterns. No signature, but the ring beside it speaks for him. You glance at Amy. I came back, you say, the words surprising even yourself. Not as him, but as someone who carries what he left. She kneels slowly beside the doorway, her hands folded in her lap. Every soul that forgets leaves a piece of itself behind, she says. Sometimes others find those pieces. You look down at the bells on your wrist. They've stopped shaking. Their silence is not empty, it's full of something old and quiet and whole. Your grandmother brought them here, Amy murmurs. She stood where you stand, but she chose not to walk this far. You sit beside her now, the wooden floor cool under your legs. I didn't mean to find this, you whisper. She nods. But you did, because something in you already knew the way. There's a stillness between you, but it's not hollow. It's the kind of silence that makes space for memory, for grief, for something like peace. I don't think he ever meant to hurt you, you say at last. I don't think he knew how to stay, she replies. The wind shifts again. One of the unlit lanterns sways more sharply than the rest. Emmy turns her gaze toward it. They don't need me anymore, she says softly. The path lights itself now. You stand and walk toward the porch railing. From here, you can see the faint glow of the last lantern behind you, marking the edge of the world you came from. You turn to her. Do you want to come back? She shakes her head, a smile touching the corner of her lips. I am not meant for returning, only for remembering. Then she places her hand on yours, cool and weightless. But you are meant to return, before the bells forget your name too. You nod. You take one last look at the house, at the scrolls and the futon and the letter that waited too long. Then you step back into the forest. Amy doesn't follow, but somehow the lanterns do. One by one, they begin to light themselves along the path ahead, warm and gentle, like a trail of farewells, and you walk not away from her, but towards something that had been waiting inside you all along. You don't remember how long you walk. The forest breathes around you, soft and slow, as though it's been exhaling for centuries. The lanterns ahead continue to light themselves, never all at once, but one by one, as if timing their glow to the rhythm of your steps. You begin to notice the sounds again, the gentle rustling of leaves, the distant trill of a night bird, the soft crunch beneath your feet. Each is a reminder that you are slowly returning to a world with time in it. When the trees finally part, you find yourself back at the lake, but something's different. The surface is no longer still dot, it ripples, ever so slightly, though there is no wind. And this time, when you look down, your reflection is there, but it's not quite right. The face is yours, but behind it, faint and shifting like a dream, is another, a man's. Not Wren, not anyone you recognize, and yet somehow familiar, as if he's borrowed your eyes to look. Back, you blink, and the face fades, leaving only your own, but the feeling lingers. You crouch by the water's edge and run your fingers through it. The ripples spread, then return, then vanish completely. On the far side of the lake, a figure stands watching. ICHIK. She doesn't speak, just lifts one hand and gestures for you to return. When you arrive back at the inn, she's waiting on the porch with 2 cups of tea. She hands one to you without a word and sits beside you, both of you facing the lantern path. You went far, she says. You nod. She takes a sip of her tea. Did you leave anything behind? You think about the house, the ring, the letter. About Emmy's eyes deep with stillness, and her voice like the edge of a dream. No, you say. I think I brought something back. Ichika smiles gently. Then you walked well. You both sit in silence, the steam from the tea curling into the cool night air. Finally, she speaks again. You should know. Your grandmother never spoke about this place after she left, but she wore those bells every day. You glance at them on your wrist. They don't chime anymore, but you can feel them, like a weight that isn't heavy. Like a name that still remembers itself. I think she wanted me to come. You say, I think she wanted you to choose. Ichika replies. Later that night, you pack your bag. The room feels smaller now, familiar. You open the paper door to the balcony and look out at the lantern path one more time. The lights are still there, still glowing, but they no longer pull at you. Instead, they feel like a road that's all ready. Ben walked. You close the door. Your phone buzzes again. Another message, this time. Thank you for remembering. No name, but no need for one. As you lie down, the room wrapped in quiet, the bells resting beside you on the table. You finally feel something you hadn't since you arrived. Tired. Not the kind of tired that pulls you down, but the kind that comes after. Finding what you didn't know you were looking for. Your eyes grow heavy, and just before sleep takes you, you think you hear her voice again, distant and soft. The path never fades. Only the footsteps do. You wake to golden light pressing through the shoshi screen, warmer than any morning before. For the first time since arriving, you feel rested, not just in your body, but somewhere deeper, as if a part of you had finally caught up. The bells are still on the table beside your futon, unmoved, but they feel different now, less like a relic and more like a companion. When you slip them back onto your wrist, they don't ring, but they pulse gently like a quiet heartbeat you hadn't noticed before. Ichika is already in the garden, pruning the moss near the stepping stones. She looks up when you appear in the doorway. Leaving today? She asks. You nod. She sits down, her shears, and wipes her hands on her apron. Most people don't stay long, not because they're unwelcome, just because this place isn't made for holding. You follow her gaze to the lantern path, still stretching quietly beyond the trees. In the daylight, it looks smaller, less mysterious, but no less sacred. I'll remember it, you say. I know, she replies. After breakfast, you carry your small suitcase to the village station. The streets are empty again, not in a sad way, just as if the village is giving you space to say goodbye. The old man from the tofu shop nods from his doorway. The boy on the bicycle is back, this time pedaling slowly as he passes, casting a brief glance your way before disappearing around a corner. At the station platform, the train is already waiting. You board, find your seat by the window, and place the bells on the tray beside your tea. As the train pulls away, the village unfolds behind you, shrines, torii gates, the winding road, and finally, in the distance, the glow of a single lantern, still visible at the forest edge. You watch until it disappears. The train hums steadily beneath you. Outside, the world begins to feel faster again. Cars on distant roads, houses stacked along hillsides, cell towers pricking the sky. Your phone vibrates softly. Another message. No words this time. Just an image. It's blurry, soft with motion, but unmistakable. A lantern glowing on a path you thought only existed in memory. And standing beside it, just at the edge of the frame, is a silhouette in a white kimono, hair stirring in wind, that cannot be heard. You stare at it, your breath catching Dot, and then you smile, because somehow you know it's not a haunting Dot, it's a farewell. Back in the city, life resumes, fast footsteps, loud voices, schedules. But there's a part of you now that stays quiet, that moves slower, that listens for something most people forget to hear. Some nights you light a small paper lantern by your window, not because you're afraid of the dark, but because you remember how to see in it, Dot. And sometimes, when the world feels too loud, the bells on your wrist will tremble, just once, like a gentle reminder that somewhere in a forest wrapped in mist and memory, a path still glows, waiting, but not for you anymore, because you already found what you needed, and you returned. You settled back into your life with a strange sense of calm, as if something inside you has been rewound to a quieter frequency. The city hums as it always has, traffic lights blinking, elevator doors sliding open and shut, people walking fast with their heads down, but you no longer move through it the same way. You start to notice small things. The way sunlight falls through blinds in the late afternoon, the hush of a room just before rain, the flicker in someone's expression when they think no one's watching. One evening, you find yourself drawn to the box of your grandmother's, things you haven't opened in years. It's tucked at the back of a high shelf, dust gathering where hands haven't reached. You open it slowly. Inside, her notebook, its pages soft with time, a pressed camellia, a ticket stub from a train bound for Kumamoto, and then, folded carefully beneath it all, a page torn from a larger sheet. In her handwriting, faint but elegant, "If the lanterns never fade, then neither do we. Not truly. We wait in each other's memory until the forgetting ends." You sit with those words for a long time. Later that week, you visit a local temple you never noticed before. It's small, tucked between two buildings like a secret. Inside, incense curls upward in quiet spirals. A monk with kind eyes hands you a slip of paper for a written prayer. You don't know what to ask for Dot, so instead, you write a name, my. You fold it, tie it to the wooden prayer rack, and bow. Not for protection, just in gratitude. That night you dream again, not of the forest or the lake, or even the lanterns. This time, you dream of your grandmother. She's sitting on a porch, bells on her wrist, watching the wind stir the edges of a paper screen. She turns to you not as a ghost, but as herself. She doesn't speak, she just smiles. And in that smile, you understand, she had walked that path. Once too, not all the way, but far enough to carry its silence with her. And when she passed the bells on to you, it wasn't a burden, it was an invitation. You wake with tears on your cheek, not from sadness, but from the kind of fullness that comes when something once lost is returned quietly and completely. Days turn into weeks. The bells don't ring anymore. Not because they're broken, but because they're at rest. You place them on your windowsill beside a small lantern you found in a second-hand shop. Each night you light it before bed, not to keep the dark away, but to remind you how to walk. Through it, sometimes, when you wake in the middle of the night, you swear you hear the faintest sound, soft footsteps on gravel, not close, not threatening, just passing by, and you smile, because you know now some paths never end, they only wait, until you remember how to return. Autumn arrives gently, almost without warning. One morning, the air tastes different, crisper, edged with the scent of fallen leaves and something quieter beneath it, like distant memory. You wrap yourself in a scarf, not because it's cold, but because the season calls for softness. You begin walking more, not with purpose, but with openness, through parks, side streets, quiet alleys with rusted staircases. Something about walking about, letting your feet move before your thoughts catch up, makes space for remembering. One evening, you find yourself in a bookstore you've never noticed before. It's small, lined wall to wall with paperbacks, the kind that smell like someone once loved them. A chime rings softly as you enter. The clerk, an old man with crescent-shaped glasses, gives you a small nod but says nothing. You wander. Your fingers run along the spines like they're searching for something. And then, in the far corner, you see it. A book with no title on the spine. Just a pale cover, almost silver, with a faint image of a lantern at the center. You pull it out. There's no author listed. No publisher. Only a single line inside the cover. This story waits for the one who walked far enough to find it again. You turn the pages, heart thudding softly. The words inside are unfamiliar, and yet not. They echo parts of your journey, parts you hadn't spoken aloud. A house in the forest, a girl with a white kimono, a lake that doesn't reflect you, and a name whispered at the edge of forgetting. The book doesn't end. It simply stops. On the final page, one sentence. The rest is still being remembered. You bring the book to the clerk. He glances at it, then at you. It's not for sale, he says, but he doesn't take it from your hands. Instead, he smiles faintly. Some stories don't belong to shelves. They belong to those who walked through them. You nod, unsure why you understand. But you do. You leave the store with the book still in your hands. That night, as you sit by your window, the small lantern casting shadows across the floor, you open the book again. You run your fingers over the blank final page. Then you write, not a story. Not exactly. A memory. One that had waited quietly until you were ready to meet it. You write about the first time you saw the path, about Amy, about the sound of the bells when they were afraid, about the moment you knew you weren't meant to stay. And when you're done, you close the book and place it beside the lantern. The room feels different now, not heavier, not lighter. Just whole. You lie down. Outside. The wind stirs gently through the trees. And in the hush before sleep, you think you hear something. A voice, not quite a whisper, not a call, just a quiet thank you. Like breath, like light, like a lantern that never truly went out. The world is quiet once more. The lanterns along the path in your dreams no longer flicker uncertainly. Instead, they glow steadily, casting a gentle light that never fades. You feel the warmth as if it were inside you, a steady glow beneath your skin. You realize that this journey, the one that began with a name on a faded postcard, with bells that trembled softly on your wrist, has changed you. You have learned that some paths don't end, that some memories don't vanish. They live quietly inside us, like embers waiting for the breath that will ignite them again. In the days that follow, you carry that light with you. In crowded rooms, in the noise of the city, you find moments of calm. A breeze through the trees, the soft sound of distant bells, the glow of a single lantern on a dark night. They remind you that you belong to something larger, a story woven through time, through longing, and through the quiet strength of waiting. Sometimes when you close your eyes at night, you hear footsteps beside you, soft, steady, familiar. You don't turn to look, you know who it is. Emmy's voice, a gentle whisper, brushes against your ear, carrying no sadness or regret, only peace. The path never truly fades, she says, because it lives in those who remember. And now, you do. You rest beneath the soft light of the lanterns, letting your thoughts grow still. The bells lie silent on your wrist, but their song is part of you now, a quiet melody that will carry you through every shadowed night. Some stories stay with us long after the words fade. Let this one rest beside you. Sleep deeply. And if it returns in your dreams, perhaps it was never truly gone.